Alright, hey everyone. Okay, so I made some progress on this with the battle sequence. The battle controller is now implemented, and I'm going to go over the blueprints kind of briefly. The battle, the this works an awful lot. A little bit of the functionality is similar to the home point functionality, and basically, when you enter it within its, uh, its inner radius is right about here, and then you notice that there's these like Pac-Man pellets just kind of floating around up above it. Each one of these represent a different stage of the battle, and what this object's job is to do is once you channel it, when you walk up to it, you'll see the a bar fill up on the. I can show you actually. You walk up to it, and you'll see the channeling bar, and then once channeled, it now starts the battle sequence. And if you watch closely here, you'll notice that I have some temporary code in here which resolves each stage automatically. This means that the functionality that I need for the actual battle sequence itself is now in place. Basically, what it's doing is once you get into range, you channel it, and once channeled, the battle sequence becomes active, and then it goes to this. It detects to see if you have a stage mounted. So basically, it has to go through. It has to go through each one of these and mounts the first one in the list. Basically, you can place a whole bunch of them. So basically, I just like, click the little eyedropper, and then I select that. So this is stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, stage 5. All right. Now, what it does is if this is not a valid reference, it then iterates through the array, finds one that's not resolved. So it'll start at the top it'll start at number 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. If it's not resolved, then it mounts it. I specify on the object itself that it has been mounted, and then that means it now can run its code. Event tick meaning like it runs every frame. I don't really need that much precision, but basically this is just temporary stuff that I'm going to do. So this means that the battle stage itself is what I need to work on tomorrow, and the battle stage itself and how the battle stage reaches a resolved state is the key defining thing that I need to do, and there's going to be a number of things that I need to pay attention to in order for a resolved state to actually occur, and that's going to mean like spawning a bunch of bad guys, or spawning a loot bubble, or doing all kinds of stuff. Now, there is one bit of functionality that I did add at the very end, the final stage. I have a boolean here that you have to manually set to true. What this does is it says, this is the final node. If you get to this node, then the battle sequence is now complete, and you can resolve the entire battle. And that means that the battle node and everything like that becomes inactive, and you spawn the final loot bubble, probably like right in front of it. But there could be situations too where you spawn like loot bubbles in all kinds of places, and it kind of gets up to the player to like have to get to them. There's actually I could see all kinds of like neat little things that I can actually do, but in this case, when you defeat the battle sequence, I'm going to place a loot bubble, and in fact, I can go ahead and just place the loot bubble now. So what this is a loot bubble that this right here is a loot bubble that has nothing specified on its spawn class, but I have functionality to force spawn loot. And there's things like the rarity bias, and I can choose to make sure that the type of loot that spawns from it is the higher quality stuff, and you get better loot for completing these staged battles. So this accomplishes everything that I was talking about before. I know that in the last video, there was actually a few things about the last video that makes me kind of cringe. First of all, I was using a term for proprietary out of context, and for me, for the longest time, like I didn't even realize it, but for the longest time, I used to always think of proprietary as anything that's owned by something or is specific to a type of system. So like if somebody says proprietary code, it means that like it really can't, it's not modular. It has to be specific to this specific sequence, and that's what I was talking about like a lot. And I guess I got to really like make sure that I'm like not saying confusing shit. I have a problem with that actually. I have a difficult time explaining the stuff that's going on in my head, and I'm not exactly sure all the time when it's happening, while it's happening. I don't know. I guess that's one of the reasons why it's just so good when there are people who know what they're doing and they're able to clearly communicate their ideas and thoughts. For that anyway, I apologize, and I guess I should probably make sure that I don't use the word proprietary unless I'm talking about like corporate ownership, which I think is the actual dictionary definition of the word. Unless maybe I'm wrong, unless somebody who's listening to this has heard it used in terms of just like this is a specific thing for this specific structure, for this specific situation, and really is non-modular. So anyway, this system allows me to do the kind of spawning system that it'll accomplish all of the same cool shit that I was able to do before when I was using the Doom scripting system, where every stage of the battle was basically boiling down to how many of the bad guys are still left alive, how long has it taken since the stage has started, because you can resolve the stage of the battle after a certain amount, like this stage may only last 15 seconds, or as soon as you kill all the bad guys, it just goes right to the next one. So it's like constantly checking to see, did you run out of time, or did you kill everything, or do you have an infinite amount of time, and to kill this one bad guy? Because like in the case of the final stage, I'm gonna spawn a really tough bad guy who's a big dude with like 2,000 health or some shit like that, and it's kind of like your job to like kill him, and he's gonna be like shooting lots and lots of projectiles, and he's a boss. He's basically a mini boss. And I don't want to set a time limit for that stage. I want the fight to only resolve after you defeat him. There's another aspect as well. You'll notice that there's a large sphere around the battle sequence. Battle sequences or battle controllers have a radius around them, and if you run outside of that radius during the battle, it will automatically resolve the battle, and it'll just reset everything. If you die during the battle, or if you use a home point at any point in time, the battle will fully reset. So if I decide that I completed this and I liked the loot and I enjoyed the fight, I can run back, use the home point, reset, and then come back out, and maybe I'll have to fight some of the bad guys that are out here. Maybe there'll be like a little ammo thingy over here. I can grab that, and then I can start the fight again. And basically, it's just up to you, like how many times you want to do it to get that loot. It's totally like your poison. Pick your poison. And I like that. I like that sort of free form thing. Oh yeah, it's another thing too. When you beat these, you get an experience point bonus, which will probably be about half a level, or about 25% a level. I don't know. I'll figure out the exact number, but it's a significant chunk of experience, and maybe it'll change depending on how tough the fight is or something like that. So with all that, I think that essentially covers all of the really big stuff I wanted to kind of just talk about. And let me take one more look at the actual blueprint itself. Yeah, right now I have print strings in order for me to debug what's going on. Yeah, so this is in place. So the next thing that I need to do in order for this to do, uh, to work is I now need to begin determining whether or not, what the time limit is. If the time limit is 0, then there's no time limit. Uh, Number of enemies that you have to kill, um, spawn points and what spawns at each of those spawn points, loot spawns and what spawns at each of those loot spawns. The loot will only spawn at the at the resolve stage. So like when this actually gets resolved, then I'll do the loot. And yeah, that's about it. This will allow me to do really long staged battles with interesting things. Oh, some other minor notes that I might actually be thinking about either ditching sprinting as a concept. Like you're always running at full speed. So like I'm actually thinking about it because I kind of I feel like the player's running too slow. I feel like the sprint speed actually feels like the better default running, movement speed. So I'm thinking the player is going to be running at around 800 units per second by default, and that's the regular soldier class. A scout will probably be even a little faster. Um, One of the things that was really nice about Doom's movement is that there's like you have sort of a superiority um, in terms of movement. You control the battle by moving around, taking cover. I think that's actually an aspect that I should be allowing a lot more. I know that it's something that a lot of devs are afraid to do is allow the player superiority in terms of movement, but I think it's actually a key defining thing about the combat in Doom, and to a lesser extent Quake. You notice that as the games became more modern, as Quake became Quake all the way up to Quake 3, um, the player basically was moving slower and slower uh, for realism's sake. And this game's not meant to be realistic. It's meant to be a harsh, and intricate, battle. Kind of like what Redemption of the Slain is. Like, interesting fights, uh, leveling up, getting better and better loot, sort of an addicting quality to it, and you move around at full speed. I'm actually even tossing around maybe the idea of ditching reloading the weapons because one of the things that's kind of happening and it's making it feel a little bit less, a little bit too sticky, and is that I constantly I have my shotgun and I press the fire button and the damn thing doesn't fire, right? And it makes things feel kind of shitty. And I guess this is one of the aspects where not having a weapon model on the screen, or hearing a sound where it goes click click when you try to fire it and you have no ammo in the magazine. Those things help a hell of a lot, but when you just have an icon of what gun you're using and a little number at the bottom center of the screen to indicate how many shots are in the magazine, it when you're in an intense fight, you're probably not even going to realize that you've been pounding mouse 1 and nothing is happening because you fucking have to quickly hit reload. Um, I don't know though. One of the things I really like about reload is that it does add a little bit more strategy to, and it also encourages weapon switching, which is something that's very seamless in this. So like, you do your assault rifle, you get down to about you get down to no magazine. Now you have kind of a choice between just switching to shotgun and going through that, or even just like finishing something off with pistol. You know what I mean? In this case, though, like whenever you spawn as a fresh player with it and you have all of your guns equipped, you have to remember to like switch to your pistol, reload, switch to your shotgun, reload, switch to your assault rifle, reload. Ugh. It's like fucking annoying. Like I have to remember to reload constantly. I have like 20 guns and all of them I'm going to have to fucking reload. These are problems that can be solved. But what I'm trying to get across is that I'm looking into ways to make this feel much more fluent, as though you are actually playing something that feels a little bit more like Doom, and you will have movement superiority, and I'm kind of thinking about also uh, increasing the damage of the guns across the board uh, by a roughly about double. So um, what that'll accomplish is like you have much more control as far as the player as your movement as the player, but you also you kill stuff faster and more things spawn as a result. So it's just faster, everything smoother, everything. I don't know what I'm gonna do about the reloading. Maybe the reloading's fine right now. Like that's one of the problems though, is that it doesn't feel good when you don't have a weapon model on the screen and you actually have to reload it, and like I don't know, it's just something to keep in mind. It feels fine in Brutal Doom. Like if I can get it to feel like Brutal Doom, I'm fine with that. That's totally legit. Brutal Doom has a very good version of that aspect. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna end this one now. Shit, I'm at 17 minutes. So stay tuned for more, and I should have a functional battle sequence by the end of the night tomorrow, and that'll be a very good thing indeed.